AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's rock!
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
Yes. And Mr. Toby Tom Play. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there, make it a good one. Coming to you live from the Raising Cane studio here in downtown Baton Rouge. Ben McKee will join us from Knoxville in 30 minutes, preview the Vols as LSU baseball wheels up to Knoxville to take on Tennesse on Rocky Top. CJ Ross, LSU linebacker, 1 hour from right now in studio. We'll look forward to that conversation. Significant news in the NFL here on Thursday. Kirk Cousins has a home. He has signed an agreement to join the Las Vegas Raiders, who are looking for a veteran quarterback to pair with Fernando Mendoza. And as Adam Schefter said on First Take, that this is really what the Raiders have in mind with Mendoza most certainly coming in.
Well, you got a situation here where Clint Kubiak has said that in his perfect world, he brings in a veteran to hold down the fort and play the position early on while they get Fernando Mendoza up to speed. And so now that he's brought in Kirk Cousins, whom he worked with for 3 years in Minnesota together. So this is really an ideal bridge quarterback situation where they can bring in Cousins. It forces them to take the pressure off Mendoza. They don't have to rush him out there if they don't feel like he's ready. Kirk Cousins is a great quarterback for Mendoza to be around, to learn from. He becomes an ideal tutor.
So there's there's several components of this. Number one, I love the Raiders doing this because we have seen this work in the past where you give the young, highly drafted quarterback an opportunity to sit and watch and learn and grow and be better for it long term. The Packers are the best example. When they drafted Rodgers, who sat behind Favre, and then when they drafted Love, who sat behind Rodgers. There is a benefit to having the opportunity to sit and watch and learn and grow and not be thrust out there right away. As a matter of fact, Kubiak, of course, this is former Saints offensive coordinator, this past year Seattle offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak, who said this week at the annual meetings in Arizona, quote, ideally, you don't want him to start day one, meaning your rookie quarterback. You'd love him to be able to learn behind somebody. This isn't a perfect world. It doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes they have to play from day one, and it's our job as coach to get them ready to play. But, again, he's saying the ideal situation is sit and watch. So I love the Raiders doing this. And Kubiak has the familiarity with Cousins from their time in Minnesota. So I think that transition should be relatively easy in this offense with a new coach and all that sort of stuff. So from the Raiders' standpoint, I think this is really smart. For us here, we don't really care about the Raiders. I do look at what this means for both the Saints and obviously, Atlanta, where Cousins was a year ago. Cousins was in Atlanta the last 2 years, and they drafted Michael Penix, and it became kind of a little bit of it became controversial because they spent 9 figures on Kirk Cousins and then used a top 10 pick on Michael Penix. By the way, Schefter did contrast the situation with Cousins and Penix to what's going to happen here with Cousins and Mendoza. I need number 2.
If we think of Kirk Cousins in Atlanta, he did not choose to work with Michael Penix. The team chose Michael Penix. In this particular case, Kirk Cousins willingly, voluntarily signed on to work with Fernando Mendoza.
It's an astute point. It happened in reverse order, so he knows what he's walking into. The other part of this that's actually relevant to us here is how this might affect the New Orleans Saints. Because remember, Derek Carr has said he is open to unretiring. And by his own admission, a reunion with the Raiders is something that he was considering.
And that leads me to my next question.
Okay.
Clint Kubiak's the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders.
That'd be so awesome.
Yeah, would it be?
What different?
How awesome would it be? What gift would you give the Raiders? You're a gifter. What would you slide under their tree?
I'm coming home. I'm coming home.
God. Those two are so insufferable. Like, I almost didn't want to play the clip just because they're so insufferable and so cringe. But anyway, the point being, that was Derek and David Carr talking about Derek potentially reuniting with Clint Kubiak, with whom he worked in New Orleans, in Las Vegas with the Raiders. Clearly, that is not the case. That is not going to happen. So I'll say this again, and it's actually very validating for all of us who, from the day Kirk Cousins signed, from the day Derek Carr signed with the New Orleans Saints, lambasted that signing because Derek Carr is what he always was just a very mid quarterback. And nobody wants him. Nobody wants him. Even the organization that drafted him, the coach with whom he played in 2024 in New Orleans, even that situation where they're not looking for a long-term option. They're just looking for a veteran bridge to their number 1 draft pick. Even the Raiders didn't want him. Now, I wish someone would sign Derek Carr. Because if someone wanted Derek Carr, they'd have to trade with New Orleans. So even if the Saints, as I've said, got a day 3 pick, if the Saints got a 7th round pick, okay, great. It's something where right now you're getting nothing for Derek Carr. So he wants to come back in the league and be bad for somebody else, okay. And someone wants to give the Saints a 6th, 7th round pick to let Derek Carr go be overpaid and bad for them, okay. I would love for Derek Carr to be back in the NFL, but you're running out of options. When you look at teams right now with the Raiders off the board who might actually be a possibility, the Browns, they got a couple of young quarterbacks there that they drafted a year ago, Gabriel and Shedeur, and then you got Deshaun Watson still hanging around. The Steelers, what's going to happen there with Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy? Will that reunion happen? The Cardinals with Kyler Murray, obviously not being back.
Murray, present.
Could they potentially be looking for a veteran backup quarterback? There's some options. I don't think any of them are likely. I think maybe the most likely scenario would be, I guess you could throw maybe Minnesota. I think the most likely scenario would be what happened in Cincinnati a year ago. And knock on Formica, we don't want that to happen to Joe Burrow again. But if you have a team that maybe fancies itself a contender and their starter gets injured and there isn't a great option, maybe Carr would be an option. Almost like what Indianapolis did last year with Phillip Rivers, which is crazy that they went and signed a guy that was out of the league for 4 years, again, over Derek Carr. Not that they ever even considered Carr, but Carr could have been an option. Anyway, that scenario, I think, is what could be maybe the most likely scenario for Carr to get back into the NFL. But the Cousins to the Raiders storyline is significant in NFL circles, but for the relevance here, it's you scratch another one off the list that could have been a potential suitor for a Derek Carr unretirement. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Shaw Bills Tire and Auto Service, ShawBillsTire.com. Name brand tires at wholesale prices, and they'll treat you like family, which is why people keep coming back year after year after year after year, it's Shawbills. ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com. Check out our friends over at Shawbills. Remember, they'll sell you name brand tires at wholesale prices. Love telling you about Shawbills. You go shop tires online. You could look at your vehicle, year, make, model, body style, price, all that sort of stuff, whatever tires fit your vehicle. And not only will they sell you tires, but they can do pretty much any type of service work. Maybe you need the oil change, your tires rotated. Maybe you're having that tire vibration that you're feeling a little bit. Go see our friends over at Shawbills. They can get that taken care of. You need to change your wiper blades, they can do that for you too. It's at Shawbills. ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com. Shawbills, where we keep you rolling. All right, let's after further review. Good day today. Glad you're hanging out. Happy Holy Thursday to everybody here as we head into Easter weekend. And it's Passover for our Jewish brothers and sisters. Happy Passover. Whatever you might be celebrating this weekend here on Easter weekend, we appreciate you for spending part of it with us. And Friday, we are off for Good Friday here. So this will be our last show of the week, and then we're back on Monday, and we'll look forward to that. LSU football does practice on Saturday, but we have no availability. I'm told they're supposed to go into Tiger Stadium. I guess they're going to have some type of controlled scrimmage. If I do get any notes out of that, I'll certainly pass it along to you over the weekend on our various social media channels, Locked On LSU. If you follow me there, I appreciate that. Subscribe on your podcast app or on YouTube, Locked On LSU. We'll get you updates there over the weekend. All right, it's after further review. Let me knock out a quick break. Speaking of college football, Alabama's athletic director is lobbying for the SEC championship game to go away. You already know where I feel on this, but I'll let you hear what he said, and we'll talk about it next on AFR.
AFR.
Love telling you about all the many different ways that Gordon gives back to the community. And right now, he's ramping up an annual give back appeal that he does all the time. It's the Gordon's Grads giveaway. So every year around graduation, Gordon gives away laptops or MacBooks to graduating seniors from Louisiana high schools that are going to college or 2 or 4 year college or a trade school to kind of help give you a step up. Now, you can go check out the social media posts on any of Gordon's social medias. Go to @GetGordon, @GetGordon, @GetGordon. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You'll see the post there and all the rules and how you can enter. It's super easy. Just go to, again, his Twitter, his Facebook, his Instagram, his TikTok. You'll see the video there and how you can enter. Or you could log on to GordonsGrads.com. GordonsGrads.com, GordonsGrads.com. Deadline to enter is April 30th, so you got a month. But make sure you do it. Get Gordon and get it done.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at DecisionCriticalVR.com.
We'll have CJ Ross, LSU linebacker, in studio with us here in about 45 minutes. Looking forward to that conversation. It's been an interesting first 5 practices for the linebacker. So I'm really excited to talk to CJ because, as we've said, like Chris Kiffin is coaching linebackers, Blake Baker's coaching the Stars. They're both kind of coaching the linebackers today. So I'm interested, very interested in how that's sort of working out and how they're divvying up responsibilities and with co-DCs, how that's working. So we'll talk to CJ Ross here in studio with us in about 45 minutes. Alabama Athletic Director Greg Byrne gave an interview with USA Today, and it was a wide-ranging interview, but in part, one of the things they discussed was the future of the SEC football championship game. And Byrne thinks it's time for it to go away. And Bama has obviously been a staple in that game. They've been in it 10 of the last 14 years. I mean, that's obviously heavily Nick Saban's tenure when they were obviously the biggest, baddest bully on the block in the West for a decade and a half. But Kalen DeBoe's got his team there this year, where, of course, they got just throttled, choked out by Georgia, which was a beautiful thing to see, and then went on to get dump trucked by Indiana in the Rose Bowl. Byrne told USA Today, quote, "I think the ship has sailed. It's run its course. It's a great event. I don't like the idea of it going away, but I think it's reality with an expanded playoff." So, of course, the SEC was the first to create the conference championship game back in 1992. It was Roy Kramer's brainchild. We just live in a dramatically different world in 2026 than we did in 1992. In 1992, it was a new concept, and it was an idea to generate more revenue for the league, a differentiator. And it worked. And it's with few exceptions, like 2001 when LSU upset Tennessee, it didn't end up being something that withheld SEC teams from the national championship. It worked actually the opposite way for the lion's share of the years of that championship game. But 1992 and 2026 are just drastically different realities, 30 plus years apart. Right now, the SEC championship game can be perceived as a detriment, losing that game. And it's also another game that, as we're staring at an expanded playoff, that doesn't need to be played. I want to remind you, for 70 years, 60 years, the SEC crowned a champion without a conference championship game. You don't need it. You've never needed it. We've just been conditioned to it being a thing that they do every year because they've done it every year since 1992. Some of you have only ever known this. If you were born after 1992, you don't know a world without an SEC championship game. But there was 6 decades of reality where you didn't need an SEC championship game, and you don't need it. It's why you play a regular season. You crown a regular season champ. The whole purpose of the conference championship game was a money grab. That's it. It also, if I can deviate for a second, is another reason that underscores my long-held belief that all the old men screwed up the whole thing, because they kept looking at ways to scale this business without paying the free labor. Don't give me any garbage about scholarships and all that nonsense. I don't want to hear it. If you're talking about coaches making $100,000, that's one thing. You're talking about coaches making tens of millions of dollars and an annual $1 billion industry with free labor, we're having a dramatically different conversation, okay? People are like, oh, you can have NIL for high school players. Well, high school football doesn't generate revenue. I mean, a little bit, but we're not talking about economies of scale here. This is an example of the old people, the adults, screwing it up. Anyway, so Byrne said, and this is a big voice, right? I mean, this is the Alabama athletic director publicly saying, I think that ship has sailed as far as the conference championship game. Now, if you're wondering, conference championship game generates approximately $50 million annually for the league. So, again, this is the point. This is why it's never gone away. You sell tickets. You have a TV partnership for that game. It's another window that you give to CBS now, ESPN, ABC. But what's happened now is when you're talking about, well, there's 2 components to this. You have the $50 million that's now it goes into the pot that's diluted because you've added more schools. So remember, you get 16 member institutions and the conference office. So when they take the big pot of money and they split it all up and everybody gets their share, you got 16 member institutions and the league office. So that game, if you take that $50 million and split it up 17 ways, it comes to $2.9 million. So right at about $3 million. So ask yourself this. LSU Athletics is a $200 plus million annual revenue operation. Is playing that extra game and potentially messing up schedules, injuries, opportunities to get into the playoff, where the shares that the conference gets for having teams in the playoffs, where that potentially gets screwed up, is that worth $3 million? No. The math doesn't math anymore. It did for years. But now you're talking about a league where in the 24-25 fiscal year, we'll find out here in a few months the payouts, but in the 24-25 fiscal year, the payouts were $72 million. The extra 3 to play this game that potentially keeps teams out of the playoff isn't worth it. Or Carson Beck tears his UCL, and now you're playing a backup quarterback in the Sugar Bowl against Notre Dame and you lose. Was it worth playing that game? No, it wasn't. So we've reached that point. I'm glad for it because, in my opinion, and I don't know if you share this opinion. If you don't, that's fine. I mean, this is like, I don't think there is a hard and fast right or wrong to this. This is just what I think would be best. And if you disagree, that's cool. And I'm going to be interested to see where this ultimately lands. But what I would like to see is an expanded playoff from 12 at least to 16. I'd go to 24. I know a lot of you disagree with me. It's fine. I don't think more football is a bad thing, but whatever. Let's say they end up at 16. What I would like to see is that conference championship weekend, the first weekend of December, go away. So what you have is the final weekend of the regular season, Thanksgiving weekend. The next week, you start on-campus playoff games. And then you play on-campus playoff games through December, at least for the first 2 rounds. They still want to work in the stupid bowl games, which I wish they didn't. But I would love to just have it all on campus. But if they want to work in the stupid bowl games for the final 2 rounds, okay. But you could have 2 rounds of on-campus games. Then the quarters and the semis would be in the stupid bowl games that they don't need. And then play a championship game the first weekend in January. And now you have a respectable calendar where the portal opens 2 weeks after that, or a week after that, or wherever you, mid-January, whenever you want to do it. I understand there's complicating factors because of the school semester starting, or maybe with that schedule I just laid out, you could have your championship game on New Year's. Maybe you move the season up to week 0, and Thanksgiving weekend is the first weekend of the playoffs, and your championship is on New Year's Day, and the next day the portal opens, and coaches can leave for other jobs and not have to leave their playoff team, and the portal can open and teams aren't still playing. I mean, there's a way to do it, but getting rid of the conference championship games on that weekend is a must, and probably starting the season week 0. What is now week 0, right? The last Saturday in August is probably the way that it would ultimately have to go, which that's what I'm for. You don't have to be for that, and that's okay if you're not. There's going to be a lot of different ways they may play this out. But sensibly, what I want to see is a true expanded playoff, and we're getting there, and a season that doesn't have where you don't have teams not playing for 3 weeks and the season ending at the end of January, which is just dumb. It doesn't make a lick of sense why we have these long layoffs to get there. But one of the first dominoes that needs to fall is this agreement that you're not going to play conference championship games anymore, unanimously. And you're going to need big voices in this sport to stand up and say it. And Greg Byrne qualifies as a big voice in the sport. I'm glad he stood up and said it. Hopefully more follow suit. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Arco Power Systems, ARCCO. Arco.com. So I went to practice earlier today out at LSU. I was pulling out of the media parking lot right there onto Skip Burtman Drive. Going right in front of me was an Arco truck. ARCCO. One of those things that you'll see, it probably you've never, maybe just would have never noticed before. It's just background. And once you start to think about it, it'll just be thrust into the foreground. Arco Power Systems, they're awesome, man. ARCCO, what an amazing business. Everything's turnkey. Sell, service, rent, install your Generac standby generators. But this is energy for your business, not for your home. This isn't a home standby generator. This is a standby generator for your business. Hospitals, churches, nursing homes, grocery stores, gas stations, radio facilities, any type of commercial or industrial facility. You need generator power for your business. You need Arco Power Systems. ARCCO, Arco.com, Arco.com, and they are all over the Gulf South, y'all. Home base is in Baton Rouge, but they're east to Mobile, north to Little Rock, west to San Antonio. Draw a big circle. If you're anywhere in there, Arco serves you. Arco.com, ARCCO, Arco.com. Okay, quick break. Come back. Let's talk a little SEC baseball. Ben McKee covers the Vols. We'll head up to Rocky Top, get a thumbnail preview here of Josh Elander's squad as LSU and Tennessee will tangle starting on Friday there at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. That convo's next on AFR.
AFR.
Easter weekend is here. How about an awesome Easter gift? How about you get by Clegg's Nursery and go buy some beautiful flowers? Maybe you have the weekend off. Maybe you have the day off Friday. Get by Clegg's Nursery. Man, those greenhouses are bursting with blooms. Siegen near Airline, right across from Marucci, where we are, once a month. LA 16 in Denham. There's not another garden center within a 5-mile radius of that Clegg's in Denham on LA 16. Mid-City on Donmore. You turn off of Florida onto Donmore. It's right there on the right. And then the garden center on Greenwell Springs. Maybe it's not even the blooms that you need. Maybe you need to take care of the unwanted pests. If weeds are taking over your lawn, Clegg's has everything that you need to get rid of all the unwanted pests. If it's weeds, if it's ant killer, if it's roach or wasp spray, they got it at Clegg's Nursery. Buy local, shop local at Clegg's Nursery.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
They're heavily into baseball. They have talented players. They're one of 3 or 4 programs that when we're recruiting somebody, they're recruiting somebody. So it's plenty of talent. Like they got 6 pitchers that are really good. At least I think they're really good. The guys can impact the game with speed or power. So I think you put home environment, impact players on both sides of the ball. They're plenty capable. I think I look at a great opportunity and a great challenge.
Jay Johnson talk about Tennessee as the Tigers and the Vols will tangle on a Rocky Top this weekend. Ben McKee covers the Vols for Go Vols 24/7. Good enough to hang for a couple of minutes. Hey, Ben, how are you, man?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing really well. What's the biggest difference between Tennessee's Tony Vitello, Tennessee, and Josh Elander, Tennessee?
I'd say the temperament so far. Tony Vitello, do I really have to describe his personality and his fiery energy that folks that aren't Tennessee fans hated with a passion? Josh Elander has a totally different personality, a much calmer presence and temperament, to the point to where, because of their inconsistencies to start the year, of course, fans are talking about the comparisons between the two and wishing that Josh would be a little more fiery at times. So I think that's a bit unfair to compare just because of the success on the field, the inconsistencies. But that's the biggest difference is probably the personality in the dugout. They're much more stoic as a team, for better or for worse. I guess you can look at that 2 different ways. But Josh was always kind of the cool, the calm, and collected in the dugout, while surrounded by Frank Anderson and Quentin Eberhard and Tony Vitello and Ross Kivett, who is still here. But just a totally different personality, much calmer, you could say.
What about on the field? What's the biggest difference between the teams?
On the field, the fun, this is going to sound bad. I don't mean it as bad as it's going to sound. On the field, there's much a bigger emphasis with the fundamentals. Tony and Frank Anderson, the pitching coach, Frank went with Tony to the Giants. There was an emphasis on winning the war at the plate instead of worrying about the battles on the bases, a.k.a. the base runner doesn't matter if you get the hitter out. And Josh Elander, being a former catcher, has emphasized not giving up the free 90s, as he calls it, up as easily as they have in the past. And in the past, Tennessee's combination of talent was able to overcome some of the walks and stolen bases and not holding runners as much as traditional baseball managers would prefer. So not that Frank and Tony neglected that area of the game, but there's been more of a focal point on that to prevent teams from trying to run on them as frequently as they used to.
Let's talk a little bit about this weekend in particular. I saw earlier you had a story over at Go Vols 24/7. Josh Elander is making a change to the starting rotation. So Landon Mack will go game 1 against LSU with Tegan Kuhn's game 2, then Evan Blanco. Make sense of this. What are we to make of this change?
It speaks to the inconsistencies of Tennessee's pitching staff. It seems like LSU from afar has been dealing with the same issues that Tennessee has, and that's inconsistency really in any area that you look on the field, whether it be defense, pitching, or offense. But Tennessee's pitching has been up and down it has been better than the offense, but Tegan Coombs had run into some struggles there to begin SEC play, and after that opening weekend of SEC play, Josh Elander was quick to make a change to his rotation, or I guess 2 weekends in, because he wasn't too thrilled with how quick Tegan was being to the plate and didn't feel like he was pitching with the conviction that he wants to see from a Friday night starter. So he made that move 2 weekends in, going into last weekend's series against Vanderbilt, and moved Brandon Arvidsson to a starting role. And Arvidsson pitched well. Tegan was better out of the bullpen than he was in a starting spot. But they view Arvidsson as arguably their most talented arm, and they've had some issues closing games out. You saw that with Vanderbilt's walk-off grand slam on Sunday. You saw that the opening weekend of SEC play with that catch the Georgia outfielder made to rob what looked like was going to be a home run that would have clinched the series for Tennessee. So with Tennessee having a hard time closing out games, they want to try and use Brandon Arvidsson twice a weekend, and also pair him with Bo Rudy, who has kind of been their closer. So they're moving him back to the bullpen so they can do that. And Landon Mack does get moved up a day. It's not really anything he did or didn't do, just kind of how it works out with Tegan moving to the bullpen last week, and they just kind of feel that's the most efficient way to go about doing things this weekend. But they feel like Tegan has made the necessary changes, and again, they just want to use Brandon Arvidsson, who they view as their top arm in the bullpen, twice a weekend instead of using him once on Fridays as they try and close out games better.
Ben McKee's with us. He's on Twitter at Ben McKee14. You can get his stuff over at GoVols 24/7. It's interesting you mentioned the Vandy series. Obviously, there was the 3 walk-offs, as we've talked about a bunch here. You mentioned the final game of the Georgia series with the amazing catch there on the outfield wall. That's 4 games. I mean, you just look at it, and this is a 3-win team right now in conference at 3-6, but they're a blink away from potentially being 7-2. Right? It goes to show how unrelenting the SEC can be. Well, Ben, we've talked about LSU. They've blown 2 saves in league play, so LSU's 4-5. They could very easily be 6-3 right now. But even if they were 6-3, we can look and say this LSU team is still a flawed team. We've talked about it a ton. How do you view Tennessee if I ignore the record at 3-6? Because as we just said, realistically, in a blink, they could be 7-2 or anywhere in between. Where really are they as far as being a contender, or what we expect with Tennessee?
As far as being a contender for a national championship or getting back to Omaha, I would say that they're a decent bit off right now. I hesitate because they do, just like you all see every single year with LSU, the roster is still loaded with talent. It's just the roster isn't playing to its talent. It's not playing to its full potential. The position player side, it's younger than it has been in years past. So there's some context and reason there, not necessarily an excuse. And what you hope if you're Josh Elander is that by the time May rolls around, that young talent is clicking offensively and it heads into the postseason with a lot of confidence and ready to do some damage. So it wouldn't be the most surprising thing ever to see this team go to Omaha because of the amount of talent it has. But right now, it is a ways off just because of the inconsistencies that I mentioned. It's not meeting expectations right now. It's not playing to its full potential, and it's because of a lot of self-inflicted wounds. They're just not able to get out of their way. And, again, if you're Josh Elander, you hope that's because of how young, at least on the offensive side, you hope that's the cause of it. They have been pretty decent on the pitching. They just had some games where it's just blown up in their face, and it makes it kind of feel worse than it actually is. But they're not playing to expectations or playing to their potential right now. And Josh Elander, first-time head coach, obviously he's learning on the job, I guess you could say. He's making the move this week to go from coaching third base to being in the dugout while the offense is at the plate. In the bottom half of the inning, at least while they're at home. So he's making adjustments, trying to turn over every stone possible to get this group to a point to where they are playing to their full potential, because they're not right now. But if they can get there, like we've seen, I think of Florida in the past, and I believe it was last year where Florida just started SEC play with an abysmal record and still was able to make a run at things in the postseason. So if you're Tennessee right now, it's pretty frustrating, especially with how you've lost some games. But can you just kind of stay afloat until you can figure some things out and then hopefully hit your stride as May and the postseason rolls around.
Hey, Ben, for as much as we talked about the pitching just a bit ago and the change of the rotation, the thing that probably jumps out most to me is a 273 team batting average. When we think about these Tennessee teams that have been so good offensively, how much truth and reality is into that 273 batting average? How much is this offense struggling?
Yeah, I think it just kind of goes off what I was just talking about is that they just have a lot of young guys up and down the lineup, and they have a core of position players that are sophomores. And this group of sophomores, Manny Marin, Levi Clark, Jay Abernathy, Chris Newstrom, they just haven't played to their potential. And these are guys that were top 50, top 100 overall players in the country that I'm sure even LSU recruited, and Tennessee had to sweat things out with the MLB draft with in hopes that they get to campus. And they flashed as freshmen, and you thought that the lineup would center around them this season in a positive way, and it's centered around them this year. It just hasn't been positive. They just haven't played to their potential and played to their talent, and it's really holding the offense back. So the offense is a huge concern right now because guys are not playing to their ability. Henry Ford, the transfer from Virginia, has been their best overall hitter, and they've had a couple of other guys have pretty solid seasons, but not enough guys playing to their full potential and playing to the back of their baseball card. Blaine Brown comes over from Rice. He was one of the biggest pickups in the portal this year, especially for Tennessee, and he's had some moments, but has just struggled to be consistent. They've dealt with some injuries. They've got a lot of young guys, as I mentioned. They have Tyler Myatt, the JUCO All-American from last year, who's struggled to find consistency this year as well. So there's quite a bit of truth in that batting average. And again, the hope is that something clicks at some point to where they do tap in and play to their potential, because if that's the case, then nobody's going to want to play Tennessee in the postseason. But right now, they're not intimidating too many pitching staffs.
Two talented teams with a lot of history that are fighting it a little bit right now as they meet up in Knoxville, LSU and Tennessee. Game 1 on Fridays. Ben McKee, Go Vols 24/7. We appreciate it, Ben. Thanks for the time, man.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Yep, it's our pleasure. You do the very same. We're right about South Point Volkswagen, southpointvw.com. New and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at southpointvw.com. Southpointvw.com. Check them out online. Remember, you can shop the inventory online. You can work out financing online at South Point Volkswagen. If it's on the lot, it's online at southpointvw.com. My goodness, you could search by year, make, model, body style, price, narrow it all down. There's 170 vehicles on the lot right now. It'll tell you that number right on the website. 170 vehicles. So no matter what you're looking for, they've got you covered. And you want to go check out their specials or the Volkswagen incentives. Literally, there's a tab right there on the homepage that says incentives, or it says specials. You hit specials, and then you'll see the drop down. They got the new specials, the incentives, Volkswagen specials. It's all right there, like $3,000 customer bonus or 2.9% APR for 60 months on a brand new Atlas. You can check it out at southpointvw.com. Southpointvw.com. South Point Volkswagen. What's your direction? All right, it's after further review, y'all. We're glad you're hanging out with us here. Our Thursday shows are presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. It's not just healthcare, it's healthcare for your lifestyle. Muse will do Tigers and the Pros when we come back. CJ Ross is going to be in studio with us to start hour number 3 in 15 minutes. Look forward to chatting with the LSU second-year linebacker. We'll do that coming up in just a bit. Also, of course, it is Final Four weekend. Mike LaTulip, great basketball analyst, will be with us in about 45 minutes from right now to break down the two games on Saturday. All right, stick around. It's AFR.
AFR.
So it's Easter weekend, and Easter, I can remember like as a kid, was always the time when it was like our benchmark that we wanted to swim. And there were some cold Easters when we were jumping in the pool, but still it's about that time of year where if you have a pool, maybe turn the heater on the pool a little bit just to get a little bit of that chill off of it, but you're getting close to pool season. And man, if you don't have a pool, it is time. It is time to call Duplessis Builders. You got a lot of options when you can talk about pool builders. And there's a lot of pool builders that build beautiful pools, Instagrammable pools. Duplessis Builders, certainly one of them. The difference, as I often say to you, is the quality of their craftsmanship. Derek, by trade, is an engineer. They do not skip steps. They will not rush the process. They're very upfront with how long it's going to take from planning and permits and the dig and all to finality. But you're going to have a beautiful product that lasts. DuplessisBuilders.net.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Decision Critical Concierge Nursing. Healthcare for your lifestyle. Learn more at decisioncriticalbr.com.
All right, wrapping up hour number one. LSU linebacker CJ Ross will be in studio with us here right after the top of the hour. We'll probably ask him about DJ Lane Kiffin. Marler, up on the 104.5 ESPN Instagram account, has just posted today's practice playlist. If you're curious, when Lane's got the aux cord, what it sounds like, you can go check out that playlist every day on the 104.5 ESPN Instagram. Okay, Muso. Tigers in the pros.
Tigers in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
I don't know if it counts because he never played baseball here, but Connor Griffin was once signed here.
It counts.
It counts?
Yeah.
Well, now he's going to get a $140 million contract, and he's been called up to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Good decision, young man. Take the money, and best of luck. He'll play with Paul Skeens. Josh Smith yesterday. There we go. Went 0 for 2 in a pinch hit roll. Did not get the start. Turned in an 0 for 2. Here still young on the season. We'll see, how Smith continues to roll there. Cole Henry, a little bit of some tough luck here.
His name is Henry, Cole Henry.
Mixed with some of his own doing. He pitched a third of an inning yesterday for the Nationals. Gave up an unearned run and got the loss and a blown save. To his credit there, but run unearned, so he still has a sparkling 0.00 ERA. Said it's some of the bad luck, obviously with the error, but some of his own doing as well. They gave up 3 hits and a walk in a third of the inning that he pitched, and of course the Nats lost to the Phillies in that one. Jake Fraley got a start for the Tampa Bay Rays on Wednesday in Major League Baseball. 1 for 3 in that one. It was a double, his second. Hit the double off of another former LSU signee, Jacob Mizorowski. Actually, so good swing there for Fraley. After the 3 at-bats was lifted for a pinch hitter late in the ballgame. But Fraley's off to a 3.08 start here on the young season. We were a week into this thing with Major League Baseball. Tari Eason, 24 minutes a night ago off the bench. Not his best shooting night. Just the 5 points. Did add 2 rebounds as well, so really not a very productive night. Normally Tari known there for the defense, but the Rockets did get the win. And then tonight in the NBA, Naz Reid and the Timberwolves.
Should have stayed.
The only former Tiger in action. They will visit the Detroit Pistons later tonight up there at Little Caesars Arena. That's Tigers in the Pros.
Presented by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com, lmfj.com. For Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Hey, look, Easter weekend is here. Gents, a lot of you might be thinking about popping the question. If you are, well, you know what to do. Go to the place that's helped Louisianians get engaged for 4 decades. Say it all the time at Lee Michaels. It's like Goldilocks. It's just right. The box stores are cookie cutters. The boutique jewelers tend to be overpriced with lesser selection. Lee Michaels, they have 9 stores, so they have the buying power of 9 stores. If they don't have what you want, they'll find it. If they can't find it, they'll make it. And you're always going to get the Lee Michaels experience. LMFJ.com. LMFJ.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. LMFJ.com. We met BJ Richard today over at the parish office. It was our $25K giveaway winner. So we gave him his cash. And BJ won Peanut.
Thank you. That's what I was going to ask. What was his nickname?
Peanut.
Love that.
He's got it tattooed on his arm. By the way.
That's so good.
By the way. P-Nut.
That's,
love him. I mean, you want to talk about an everydayer. Morning Scone, Locked on LSU, AFR, trifecta. He is there every day. Peanut is all in.
P-Nut. That's so good.
Love to see Peanut get the big win. And we asked Peanut. We're like, or I guess I don't know if it was Christina from whoever called him, or maybe it was Kayla from our office. Was like, well, do you want a check or do you actually want cash? Peanut wanted cash.
Absolutely.
I mean stacks. So
did y'all give it to him in a briefcase?
Well, no,
just slide it on the table and open it and shut. It'd have been so good.
I think it was hundreds.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was hundreds.
Straight cash, homie. Randy Moss.
So my point is, like, if it were ones, it could have filled a briefcase.
Yeah.
It wasn't ones. I think it was hundreds. But still, I mean,
Like in dodgeball when he gives him the $100,000 and it's just one stack of money in the briefcase. That would have been so good. You can invest it, Peter.
shut up, Peanut. So good. All right, it's after further review. A shout out to Peanut, Parish Construction and Roofing. We're thrilled to help. And Peanut was great. He said he's going to buy some stuff for himself. Said he's going to pay off a few things, and then also he's going to help out some family members who need a little help, which was great. So I loved it. It was great to meet him. Shout out to Peanut, BJ Richard, our $25K giveaway at Parish Construction and Roofing. All right, LSU linebacker CJ Ross. He's in studio next.
AFR.
Y'all, weekend is almost upon us. It's a holiday weekend. Get on by Supper Club this weekend. I know. Tomorrow's Good Friday, and a lot of people abstain from meat on Friday and Lent. I've been telling you this. It's actually a better excuse to get by Supper Club, because I know what I do all the time when I go to Supper Club. I always order steak, always. We'll go on a Friday and Lent. It's going to force you to order something other than steak. It's going to force you to try that Chilean sea bass I've been telling you about. It's going to force you to try that Ora King salmon. Or maybe you go and get the stone crabs or the Alaskan king crab legs. Or maybe you want lobster, or maybe those apps that are awesome, the tuna, the crudo. Y'all, they got so many amazing seafood dishes at Supper Club. It's the thing that I tell you all the time. Whatever you order, it's going to be the best of that thing you've ever had. It's Supper Club. SupperClubBTR.com.